Wherefore, Series 2, Episode 17. The parsnips of Thrupp are remarkable vegetables. They grow to uncanny proportions and yet do not become woody, as is usually the way of it with large parsnips. Vast, sweet and tender, they are vegetables of legend in their own right. Wigston has been doing an experiment to see whether a Thrupp parsnip can thrive in other soils. He is pleased with the results. Thrupp obviously has its own inherent magic, but the parsnips are so imbued with supernatural power that they can flourish in less intrinsically magical locations. Whether a second-generation parsnip will have the same powers remains to be seen. There will be difficult decisions to make about which ones to harvest and which to let go to seed. Wigston takes his allotment very seriously. There is enchantment in all soil, and he knows the world would be a better place if more people had dirt under their fingernails. There is a man in the allotments. He is clearly either lost or confused. He isn't dressed like someone expecting to be on an allotment. His trousers and shirt are both pale. He has neither boots nor wellies, and he looks anxious. Further, there is some sort of device in his hands, not a bucket, shovel or watering can, but a screen of some kind. Evidently, he is in the wrong place. Wigston watches him with amusement and tries to imagine what has brought this visitor here. The machine makes a little bleepy noise. It carries. It has a terrible effect on the man, who looks as though he may break down into tears at any moment. "All right there?" Wigston asks. "Not really," says the man. Wigston doesn't know or recognise the fellow, but now he is closer, you will be able to see that this is Simon. For the purposes of this scene, we are stood together a short distance from Wigston's allotment on a nice grass path. We can see them, but they cannot see us, and by this means you get a bit of an apprenticeship in being a narrator. Mostly it's about standing slightly behind people to look at the world over their shoulder, while trying to intuit what's going on in their heads and picking out the important bits. A really good narrator does this without drawing attention to themselves. I think we've long since established that I am not a good narrator. I'm too opinionated, too willing to head hop, speculate, break the fourth wall, address you directly and treat you, dear viewer, like another character in the drama. Which is why I'm making you stand near Wigston's allotment, but I have at least furnished you with a waterproof coat and a decent pair of wellies, so you are better off at the moment than Simon. Let that be of some comfort to you. "Suppose there isn't anything around here called the World Tree, is there?" Simon asks. Wigston says that there isn't. Not a tree with a nickname, maybe? Some sort of joke, perhaps? Or a sculpture? Or a name in Latin? Or... Simon trails off, his desperation obvious. His shoulders slump even further. I'm also apparently looking for some sort of dragon snake thing. "Is that the one with no eyes that keeps eating people in their dreams?" Wigston asks, because he genuinely does want to be helpful. Simon looks even more terrified. "I don't know," he says. "It doesn't say anything about that. I'm just supposed to find a giant snake dragon thing called Nidhogg, and he's supposed to be here, so I'm not even sure why I have to find him if the app already knows where he is." "I've got a slow worm," says Wigston. "Big by slow worm standards." Simon's eyes brighten with a light that is probably due to advancing madness. "Yes," he says. "Please, show me your slow worm." Wigston has a think about this because he's not actually seen his resident slow worm in a couple of days, although he feels sure it must be around somewhere. He whistles. Slow worms do not come when you whistle, despite popular misconceptions on the subject. However, some of them are deeply enraged by whistling and will swear on the ether with the kinds of scents slow worms emit when they wish to be especially uncomplimentary. Wigston whistles, deliberately out of tune, and the slow worm emits a clear stream of unconstructive criticism. "He's over there," says Wigston. They head deeper into the allotment, although Simon hangs back a bit even while his eyes continue to gleam maniacally. Wigston Slowworm is wrapped around the base of one of his parsnips, sunbathing and relieved that the obnoxious whistling has stopped. "Here you go," says Wigston, "one slowworm, who may also be the mythical being you were looking for." Wigston ponders this for a moment and then adds, "If he is, that means the parsnip is the world tree." "Right," says Simon. "Slowworm equals dragon. Parsnip plant equals world tree. Job done." He takes some photos and plots his location in the app. The device is satisfied with this, and his relief is obvious to you and I, and even to Wigston. "It's a Thrupp parsnip," says Wigston. "That's nice for it," says Simon, who really couldn't care less. "How do I get out of here?" Wigston directs him back to the path and points in the direction of the gate. So long as the pumpkin plants don't get him, Simon will be fine. Once he is alone, Wigston goes back to the slowworm and the parsnip and considers them. Living with the rhubarb spirit has taught him not to pay much attention to visible scale. How big a thing currently appears to be really won't tell you much about what it is or the true scale of it. What if this parsnip really is the world tree? What if this slowworm really is Nidhogg? What would that mean? Wigston has mixed feelings about all of this. On the whole, he concludes it might be as well to dig out a few books of Norse mythology just to see what the implications are. He wonders if all Thrupp parsnips are really a dragseal, and whether this might explain everything about them. At least it isn't a tree of knowledge. Those are always troublesome and do terrible things to foraging blackbirds during the winter.